Welcome to the Recovery Room podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited for the launch of the Recovery Room podcast. I am your host, healing agent Trey Kearney. The Recovery Room podcast is a podcast that is brought to you to encourage, motivate, and inspire you to heal from the devastation of trauma and of breakups. It is a virtual hospital for the brokenhearted and the betrayed. So tonight, our topic is going to be a really good topic that is really hitting home for me today. So I just want to share this with you. Today's topic is dysfunction is not normal. Dysfunction is not normal. So this is what we'll be talking about today. And I'm going to give people just a minute to come in and get settled in and to get comfortable. This is a safe place, a transparent place. I believe that truth plus transparency equals healing. I believe once we speak our truth, and once we're transparent, we can begin to heal. But not only do I begin to heal, but you begin to heal too. And it also gives you a light and gives you power to be okay with sharing your story, to be okay with healing from the devastation of parental trauma, family drama, breakups, death in the family. It is all trauma. It is all some things feel like betrayal. And a lot of times when we think of betrayal, we think of a breakup. We think of intimate relationships. We don't think about the betrayal of family and friends. We don't think about the betrayal of the church and all of these different aspects where betrayal comes from. So this is a platform where we will be discussing healing from betrayal and broken hearts. So again, my name is Trey Kearney. I'm a certified life and relationship coach. I will share a little bit about myself before we go forward to know why I am so passionate about healing. I got here by way of committing adultery many, many years ago. Dysfunction destroyed my family. And today, if I get emotional, please excuse me, because dysfunction has shown up. The devastation of dysfunction, the residue of dysfunction has showed up in my life today, because today is my oldest son's birthday and we are estranged right now, or he has decided to go no contact with me and our family. So it's a really hard day for me today, but I wanted to get this done. I made a plan to launch the Recovery Room podcast very strategically for those of us who are dealing with any level of heartbreak, for those of us who are dealing with any level of betrayal. So I am here because there was a lot of devastation in my life from. This is why the topic is so important, to understand that dysfunction is not normal. Dysfunction disturbs lives, adult lives. So if you grew up in a dysfunctional environment, please feel free to share in the comments. Please feel free to raise your hand, because dysfunction is not normal, but we think it's normal because it's the only thing that we've seen. So dysfunction disturbed my marriage, my first marriage, but my only marriage, which led to divorce because I committed adultery. And I'm transparent about that because I want every person on here to know the message of the night. And I want you to write this down. I want you to take notes, and I want you to know this is the main message for the evening. You are not your biggest mistakes. You are your better choices. You are not your biggest mistake. You are your better choices. I lived in a bubble of guilt for a very long time based on one devastating choice that I made, but I had to make a conscious decision to get the help that I needed first, to figure out why I thought that it was okay to go outside of my marriage, one, and why I thought it was okay to sleep with somebody else's husband, too. So I was a married mistress for a very long time. And let me tell you a little bit of the backstory why I thought that was normal. I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. God bless and God rest my mother's soul. She was a very amazing woman, and none of the stories that I tell about her is to belittle her or make it like she wasn't a good person. I love my mother. I forgave my mother many years ago for things that she did because I understood that my mother was doing the best that she could do with what she learned, with the dysfunction that she came from. See, this is why we have to break these patterns in our lives, because Dysfunction disturbs lives, right? Dysfunction is not normal. And when you come from a long line of dysfunction, it carries on from generation to generation to generation. And I necessarily don't believe in generational curses. And this is just me. I just believe that somebody has to open up their eyes and say, dysfunction is not normal. This ain't it. And at a point in my life where I finally came to terms where my life was in the shambles, where I was down in the dirt, where all hell had broke loose, where my family was destroyed, the man that I left my husband for was cheating on me. It was very devastating. I have a child from the relationship. So there was so much going on that I was lost in life. I was basically lost in life. And I had to find my way back to life. I never knew who I was. I never got the opportunity to know who I was in a house of dysfunction. So I want to read the definition of dysfunction for you guys so that we all understand where this is coming from in case you need to heal from living in a home of dysfunction. And let me tell you this, I always say I'm a girl from the hood because I am a girl from the hood. And a lot of times when we talk about dysfunction, we think that people who are from the hood or people from the ghetto or people who live in lower tax brackets are the only ones that live dysfunctional. No, I want people on here who are listening who come from two-parent homes where your mother was a doctor and your father was a lawyer, or your father had a job, excuse me, at the post office, or your home was a middle class home and it wasn't the same dysfunction as a dysfunction that many of us suffered in lower class communities or lower income communities. I shouldn't say class, lower income communities. But you could have been in a home with two parents, and I use this as an example, and your mama could have been a functioning alcoholic, and on the outside, from everybody looking in, it looked really good, but from the inside, you were suffering from the things that were going on with behind the white picket fence, right? The things that were going on in a home where everybody thought everything was kosher and everybody thought everything was good. So I don't want anybody to exclude themselves from the healing process and not come into the recovery room, because everybody's welcome in a recovery room. It is a virtual hospital for the betrayed and brokenhearted, those who need to heal. And some people don't think that they need to heal, but a lot of people need to heal from the devastation of the home that they came from. A lot of people need to heal from the devastation of their first breakup. You don't have to be recently in a breakup to still be grieving. You don't have to recently be in a breakup to still be not happy and whole with the person that you're laying next to, because you feel like the woman that you let go many, many years ago was the one that got away. A lot of brothers, and I write about this in my book, It's Healing Time, Men Hurt Too. A lot of brothers are suffering because they feel like they're settling because they just wasn't ready when the right woman came along at the right time, the high school sweetheart, the college sweetheart, the first wife, where you came from a dysfunctional background and you just had not healed, matured, and grown to be the husband or the father that you needed to be. So I don't want you to beat yourself up because of the one that got away. I want you to actually heal from that. So the woman that you are with right now can really enjoy all of you, and vice versa for the women. For the man that you are with right now, you should not be laying there next to him thinking about somebody else, your first love, and if only this would have worked out. I want everybody to actually really be living the abundant life that was promised to us. So I am going to read the definition of dysfunction. Dysfunction, deviation from the norms of social behavior in a way regarded as bad. Deviation from the norms of social behaviors in a way regarded as bad, right? So if you've come from a dysfunctional background and you have not dealt with that, and you have not uprooted, if you have not uprooted the seeds of the dysfunction, you are still living a dysfunctional life right now. And I need you to know that dysfunction is not normal. Now, how will we know that if that's all we knew? How will we know that dysfunction is not normal? Well, after you get a certain age, you kind of sort of figure out that yelling at somebody because you didn't know how to communicate, and every relationship that you get in ends, and you're the common denominator because you're a person who in your house yelling was normal. Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? Yelling is not normal. And for many, many years, I did not know yelling wasn't normal because I grew up in a home where there was a lot of yelling. So that became my norm. But that was dysfunctional living. Sleeping with somebody's husband ain't normal. But my mother was with my stepfather, who was married to a woman on the other side of town, literally 30 minutes away from us, maybe 35. We moved a lot, but this woman was married to my stepfather, and my stepfather lived with us. All the time. He never went with this other woman, but he never got a divorce. So my in my mind as a young girl, this is normal. So why wouldn't I follow the blueprint that was laid before me if that's the only thing that I saw, right? So these are the things that happen to us when we come from a dysfunctional background. Proper life skills are not developed, right? I want you get your pens and your papers out right now. I teach a class, life skills, right? I want you to get your pens and your paper out right now, and I want you to really take notes, and I really want you to hone in on this, because you may be stuck in your life and wondering why you keep having you may be wondering why you keep having series of highs and lows, or moments of success to only lead back to failure, moments of starting and stopping, right? And these crucial, critical, basic life skills may be your problem. And let me tell you how I came up with this program, how I designed this program, because I had a coach and she opened up my eyes to some things. And this is not what she told me, this is what I learned about myself. So when we talk about life coaching, a coach should never tell you who you are or what you should do. A coach should ask you some strategic questions so you can figure out why you don't have clarity, why you can't get from where you are to where you're trying to go. And this is what my coach did for me. And I bless her name, and I thank God for the time that our paths crossed and what she did for me. I thank Dr. DC Marshall for opening up my eyes to taking off the blinders, one, and not living as a false read, right? Taking off the mask and being able to understand why I'm not successful in life, right? So let me tell you what these critical basic life skills are that you need to be successful in all areas of your life. And if you've come from a dysfunctional background, if you've come from a dysfunctional background, these critical basic life skills were not developed. They just weren't developed. So when we think of basic life skills, we think of washing clothes, cooking, cleaning, washing our bodies, basic life skills like that. No, there are some critical basic life skills that you need in order to be successful in all areas of your life, because these skills were not developed in me, and which I learned as I went along my journey to become a certified life and relationship coach. Many of my clients lacked some one or more of these basic life skills, which was eye-opening to me because they came from a dysfunctional background where these life skills were not even presented to them. So number one is, how can you communicate if you've never been taught to communicate properly? Communication is a critical basic life skill that dysfunction does not allow to develop. So you're not living a normal life if you've come from a dysfunctional background, because dysfunction is not normal, because you don't learn how to communicate effectively. Now, we're in houses where we've had people yelling, screaming, and then we've had people to the extreme of the silent treatment. So what do we do as adults? We take our dysfunctional selves and our dysfunctional behaviors and we bring them into our adult relationships, and then our adult relationships fail, right? We come into relationships where we're screaming at each other, and don't get two dysfunctional people together, for God's sakes. Woo! So we'll talk about that another time, because I just had a whole nother thought about dysfunction and two dysfunctional people being together. And many times, two dysfunctional people don't attract each other, right? Because we say we attract who we are. No, two dysfunctional people don't necessarily attract each other. Two dysfunctional people trauma bond and entertain each other for far too long, because we have those things in common. Oh, your mother was a drug addict. My mother was a drug addict. Oh, people in your house did this, people in my house did that. Oh, everybody drank in your family, everybody. So we just together being dysfunctional when that's not normal. Mm. Come on, Jesus. I hope I'm helping somebody tonight on this. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into the Recovery Room podcast. My name is Trey Kearney. I'm a certified life and relationship coach, better known as your healing agent. I can't heal anybody. Only God can heal you, but he has sent me down here to be your neosporin. You know how a healing agent, when you cut yourself or you get a scar and they give you some bacitration, they or the red, what is it, mercurochrome when we was kids, or they give you the neosporin. God has called me to be the neosporin in your womb so that we could clean that thing out, so we can uproot that thing that is holding you back for so long, so you can live the abundant life that he promised you. It is time for us to stop just surviving and to get in the mode of thriving by uprooting the dysfunction that we think is normal. Let me tell you another little analogy of how we have all grown up through different lenses, and we believe that our way of life is normal, right? Because this is what happens when we see our mother clean a certain way. If you saw your mother clean with Clorox bleach, what you cleaning with right now? Clorox bleach. Even though Clorox bleach is not good for your lungs, you shouldn't be using Clorox bleach in your house. If your mother cleaned with Comet cleanser, you still cleaning with Comet. When was the last time you saw a can of Comet? A lot of people, I've gone to their houses and I've seen Comet, and I'm like, her mother used Comet, because that is normal for you. These are the things that you've seen, that you've been influenced by. Your mother didn't tell you to use Comet for the rest of your life, but this is the blueprint that was laid before you. So when we come from dysfunctional backgrounds, this is the blueprint that was laid before us without it even being told to us. Nobody has to tell us to operate a certain way when that's the only thing that we've seen. Let me breathe. So communication is one thing that's a critical basic life skill. What kind of communicator are you? And as I'm talking to you, I really want you to take notes, because I want you to dig deep inside yourself, because this podcast, my vision is that you will you would have a safe place to be vulnerable with yourself, to have the courage to be what it is that you need for you. To be what it is that you need for you. To let go of everything in your life that was taught to you that was not good, that did not feel good, and to be accountable for who you are in this season of your life, to be the best, highest version of yourself by digging up the roots of dysfunction, by digging up the roots of betrayal, by digging up the roots of unforgiveness, to free yourself from the things that no longer serve you. I just want everybody to be free to live the best possible life that they could live, because like I tell y'all all the time, y'all know my mantra is you deserve the best. And I believe every human being walking, talking, breathing, and living deserves the best. I don't care what kind of mistakes we made. We are all doing the best that we can do. And until somebody shines a light on certain things in our life along our journey to say, yo, dysfunction is not normal, boo. So if you don't know what kind of communicator you are, are you assertive? Are you passive? Are you passive aggressive? Are you aggressive? How are you carrying yourself? And how do you deal with those other communication styles? Because if you are a wife that is passive, you have a husband that is aggressive, you are more than likely in an abusive relationship, because you letting everything pass you by, because you don't know how to stand up for yourself, because you come from a dysfunctional background where you were taught to be quiet, shut up, you should be seen and not heard, and you are in a corner somewhere because you heard your father screaming at your mother at the top of his lungs. So yelling scares you now. So when your husband just raises his voice, you are cringing and you are shrinking back. We have to get past this dysfunction in order for us to live, in order for us to thrive in a space where we are happy, whole, and healed. And this is not a blame game to blame anybody. This is for us to be accountable for our happiness, our healing, our growth, and our wholeness. And the only way that we can do that is to be honest with ourselves, to say dysfunction is not normal. Life skill. Another life skill that probably was not developed in you if you come from a dysfunctional background: empathy. Empathy. How many of us? Empathy and self-control, resilience. These are basic life skills that are not developed in those who come from dysfunctional backgrounds because there was no room for them to be developed. All you were doing was trying to survive. Empathy, self-awareness. Lord have mercy. If I could have a dime for every time that I messed something up in my life because I was not aware of myself, I would probably be a millionaire. But nobody taught me about self-awareness in my house, in the hood, in my mother's house, in the dysfunction, in the chaos, and the confusion in my home. I was out here on my own trying to learn some things about who I was and never knew who I was because I went from my mama's house to my husband's house at 21 years old. Basically, at 20, I started to live with him and got married at 21. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to be a wife. When I had my kids, I didn't know how to be a mother. I didn't even know how to be a human being. I was a human doing for many, many years. And what I was doing what felt good. What I was doing what I was able to do to survive in a world where I had no life skills. I didn't know how to speak up for myself. I was not resilient when things happened to me. I was knocked down for months, weeks, days, hours, and years. Dysfunction is not normal. Dysfunction will disrupt your life if you don't uproot the old blueprint, the old foundation. Because when you grow up in a home of dysfunction, basically every day of your life is like you're on quicksand. You know, you ever watch those movies when you were younger? Like quicksand always scared me. Like I used to have bad dreams about quicksand because the quicksand was sucking you in and there was nothing that could pull you out. That is what growing up in dysfunction feels like. And that is what that's how it travels into your adult life. You are constantly fighting not to go under the quicksand. You are constantly fighting to be a human doing and not a human being because you never ever had the tools to be who you were supposed to be. But you have to take the initiative to stop blaming people, places, and things for who you are right now as an adult. And I had to take the reins on my life and do what it is that I needed to do to get out of the dysfunction. Another thing is time management and organization. I'm telling you, these are life skills that were not developed in the home. And you're wondering, why don't I know time management? And time management is essential to your success. Organization is essential to your success. Assertiveness is essential to your success. Self-awareness is essential to your success. Communication is essential to your success. Critical thinking, decision-making, problem solving is essential to your success. But those skills were not developed in a house of dysfunction. They were not. And we need to get back to developing these basic life skills so that we can be successful in every area of our lives. Let me go back to some more notes that I have in my, why is it my page turning? Hold on. Oh, here it is. So I want to just ask you about the trickle down of dysfunction, right? Let's just talk a little bit about the trickle down of dysfunction. So there's a devastating trickle down when it comes to dysfunction. Dysfunction will disrupt your new family, right? Because you're bringing in old ideas into a new family, into a new time with new people, right? So here is what it is. Your husband that you're going to be with or your wife that you're with, you guys grew up in two totally different lenses. Maybe you were a military family and maybe your wife or your husband grew up with parents in the 60s who smoked weed and everybody had freedom of choice. And then you get into this relationship with somebody and you're looking at that person like they're not normal, like they're dysfunctional, when actually everybody had a level of dysfunction in their home. And we want to think that we're right when nobody is right. So I remember this instance when I was with my ex, right? And he decided to cook. So I was happy about that. I was like, oh yeah, go ahead and cook. So it was fried chicken. You know, I don't need everybody fried chicken anyway, but it was fried chicken. So I was like, okay. So he was like, yeah, I'll cook. And he had cooked some stuff before. So he was a pretty decent cook. So I was like, okay, so I'm sitting in the kitchen and we just keying it up and talking while he's cooking, right? So he's putting on, I think it was rice and broccoli, if I remember. And he's cooking that food, and he's cooking, put the sides on, then he's going to season the chicken, right? So I'm looking because I want to know how he's seasoning the chicken because I got to eat the chicken. So he proceeds. Listen to how much we have to understand that we all grew up in different lenses and nobody is right and nobody's wrong. So he proceeds to season the flour. Did y'all hear what I said? He took the seasoning salt and had the flour in the baggie and put the seasoning salt, the garlic, the onion powder, and whatever other seasons he was using in the flour. And I said, "What the hell are you doing?" And he said, "I'm seasoning the chicken." And I said, "No, boo, that's not how you season chicken. Because my mother seasoned the chicken, washed and seasoned the chicken." And I was so angry at the fact that he was seasoning the flour. I was like, "What do you know?" So he was like, "Just let me cook. If that's what you are." So I had to bring myself back to, he grew up in a different lens and his mother taught him how to fry chicken, right? So this is how dysfunction shows up in our lives too. And I'm just giving an example of how we are influenced by our environment, how we are influenced by our parents. So there was a lot of things that our parents poured into us that we learned that we now need to unlearn because it is drastically affecting our adult lives every day. Every day we're never going to get there, right? We're never going to arrive, right? So I'm good. I've been healing. I've been on my journey. I've been with my coach. I've been with a therapist. So in some areas I'm good, but it's going to show up sometimes because the opportunity hasn't come to present itself. Like had I not seen him seasoning this flour, that wouldn't have showed up for me. So he seasoned the flour, fried the chicken, and the chicken was banging. The chicken was banging, baby. The chicken was banging. And my point is, my chicken is banging too. So we've seen some things. So I want you to ask yourself this question from your life. How did you learn to forgive? How did you learn to forgive? Right? Because the way that forgiveness was taught in your home, or check this out, or not taught in your home, but you just picked up on how people, like my family, let me just give an example of my mother and my stepfather and forgiveness for how it taught me to forgive. My stepfather would beat my mother. Like I lived in a situation where there was domestic violence. Like they would really fight, like fight bad, like really fight. Like my mother had broken ribs, black eyes, a broken nose, a broken arm, like really fight, right? And then the next day, my mother would get up like nothing happened and she would cook and they would be talking to each other. And it was like, okay, like, yo, you have a black eye. Like this man punched you in your eye, ma'am. And you're cooking eggs and bacon and you're serving him. So for me, and this is why I'm asking you how you learn to forgive, because we have to unpack some things. For me, forgiveness was acting like it never happened. You just act like it never happened. If somebody did something to me, if somebody offended me, if somebody said something to me, you just act like it didn't happen. Dysfunction carried over into my adult relationships, which carried over to my children, which is why at this point in my relationship with my oldest son, I told you guys we are estranged and he is not speaking to me. He has decided to go no contact. But this is the residue of the dysfunction of me watching my mother be with somebody else's husband and me following the exact blueprint of leaving my marriage to be with somebody else's husband, to take my children, to affect them based on the dysfunction that I grew up in. And I make no excuses for my behavior because I had to be accountable to say, hey, you saw that, you knew it was wrong. You knew it was wrong, but it was the only example that you had. But I had to uproot the thought of You need to just survive and do what's best for you. And again, communicate. Can I tell y'all the life skills are showing up because the dysfunction did not leave space for the development of life skills, the communication of me not being able to communicate to my ex-husband what it was that I needed, or for me not to communicate to my ex-husband that I just don't want to be in this relationship anymore because I never got a chance to grow up, or whatever the communication needed to be at that time of why the marriage was dissolving, instead of me moving on to another situation when this one was not finished. And all my life, let me be honest with y'all, up until a few years ago, I never finished anything. I never finished anything. When the going got tough, the tough got going, Trey got out of there. And that's another life skill, resilience. Instead of bouncing back, getting up and finishing it, bounce up, bounce back, get up and run. Bounce back, get up and run. I hope this is helpful to somebody. I hope you got your pens and your papers out so that you could take some notes. How did you learn to communicate? What type of communicator are you? You know, if you grew up in a house of hoarding, dysfunction is not normal. Hoarding is dysfunction. I know a lot of people, now that I'm doing the Recovery Room podcast and working with different clients, I know a lot of people that grew up in homes with parents who were hoarders, some to the extreme and some to just a filthy house, right? So when you go to their house and it's like, oh, okay, all right now, are we not going to wipe that off the table? And you don't say anything because you're like, this is, and the kids are running around and it's loud and it's crazy. That dysfunction is normal for that family because they have not dug up the root that dysfunction is not normal. I live in a clean home because my mother lived in a clean home. I know people that live in dirty, messy houses who their parent lived like that. So they're looking at you like, if you don't like it, don't come to my house no more. And don't be going around talking about me. But somewhere deeply rooted in them is the fact that chaos in a dirty home is normal for them because dysfunction has become normal. Let me breathe again. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into the Recovery Room podcast, where we are unpacking some things about dysfunction. And our topic tonight is dysfunction is not normal. So, and if any of this resonates with you, I want you to take a good look at yourself because this is what we're here for. We are not here to point fingers at moms, dads, kids. We are not here to blame anybody for anything. The recovery room is about your healing. The recovery room is about you looking internal instead of pointing external so that you never heal, right? So again, I've given two questions. How did you learn to forgive? How did you learn to communicate? So again, beating kids, whooping my kids was normal because we got whooped. To what degree? I don't believe my mother abused me, but I do believe that sometimes the beatings weren't necessary. So along my journey, my children didn't get as many beatings. I'm not gonna say I never spanked my kids, but my children didn't get like, and this is so crazy, and I'm sharing this with you because I need you to understand that you're not the only one. Like we got beat with extension cords. Like we got beat with the telephone wire. Like not me necessarily. I did get hit. I got beat with a telephone wire. Do you remember the thin telephone wires? Do y'all remember the thin telephone wires? I got beat with a telephone wire one time and I never got a beating again. Because it was like, just think about the slaves that got whipped with a whip. That's what I can equate it to. And the reason why I got beat with a telephone wire is because me and my brother, God rest his soul, I miss my brother. My brother died from a tragic motorcycle accident in 2020. But me and my brother went to the Grapevine. Back in the day in the hood, there was grapevines. Don't ask me how we found a grapevine because I don't remember, but there was a grapevine. You know, the grapevines were good and you would squeeze the grape. It was good, right? Me and my brother, I got on the back of his bike and we drove to the Grapevine. And the street lights beat us. Right? We just out there picking grapes. Like we done lost all track. So my mother's looking for us and couldn't find us. Again, we was dead wrong. I don't think it warranted the extension cord, the telephone wire extension whipping. But when we came, she had to call the police because it had got dark and she couldn't find us. So when I came, we came down the block. I'll never forget, I had grapes in my shirt because I was holding them, when you're a kid. I want to let my stomach show. I was holding the grapes in my shirt like this on the back of the bike with my brother. We just giggling and laughing because we went to the grapevine. We got us some grapes and we saw the police out there with my mother and baby. I tell you, I dropped them grapes, fell off the bike, skinned up my knees because I already knew that the street light had come on and we was in trouble. Kangaroo, yes. So when we got in the house, man, she beat us outside with her hand, first of all, because she was so nervous, and I get it. And then when we got in that, and them cops didn't say nothing back in the day. Them cops did not protect, or they wasn't child abuse back then. You beat your kids. When we got in the house, man, she lashed me with that daggone wire, telephone wire, 2 times. And she couldn't even lash me no more because I was fit to be tied. I was done. But after that, I never got in trouble again. Now, my brothers and sisters, I didn't see them get some beatings. But I'm saying to you, that was very dysfunctional to beat us with a telephone wire. So I had nightmares about that as a child for years. I was scared to do anything. It put the fear of God in me. So I just need us to journal. I want you to journal tonight because I really want us to break the chains of dysfunction out of our lives from the things that we've suffered from parents who just didn't know no better. Okay. And I want us to forgive our parents along this journey as well. I want us to forgive our mothers and fathers for what they didn't know, from what their parents didn't know, from the dysfunction that they suffered through, from the trauma that they went through. So I tell the story often of how I loved and forgave my mother so easily because I know her story. I know my mother's mother died when she was 15 years old. And I know that my grandfather wasn't a good dad to them, that he was a womanizer and he was messing around with all of the young women in the projects. And my mother's and my aunties feel like my grandfather killed their mother because my grandmother was an alcoholic. This is the story that my mom told me. And one day she got drunk and my grandfather got mad and he put her out in the snow with no shoes on. She got sick and died from pneumonia. So they said that their dad killed their mother. So just imagine a level of, and back then, of course, my mother didn't have a therapist or a life coach or anywhere. She just got out of that house and survived, just did whatever she needed to do to survive. So I learned from my mother to constantly be in survival mode, survival of the fittest. You better get them, Trey, before they get you. You better not let your guard down. You better always be looking over your shoulder. That's not normal. You cannot live a happy, healthy life always thinking that the world is out to get you, because the world is not out to get me. Now, so we can't trust everybody, especially in 2023. However, the world is not out to get me. And just growing up in dysfunction, how many of us say it's a generational curse that everybody in our family is an alcoholic? When really everybody in our family is not an alcoholic. We just drink because it was the normal passage of adulthood to drink liquor. I'm not an alcoholic. I drink socially with my friends and family. I don't drink by myself because I'm not an alcoholic. Now I could just drink and drink if I wanted to say, oh, my whole family drinks and all of that. But I've come to terms in my life that that's not normal for people to drink every day. Even if some of my family and friends still decide that that's the life that they want to live, I'm cool with that. But that's not what's cool for me, because I've done some work on myself. I've sat down with a therapist. I've sat down with a coach. And I've decided that that part of life is not normal. Dysfunction is not normal. Drinking alcohol every day is not normal. Drinking alcohol every weekend is not normal. Drinking alcohol because you had a bad day is not normal. And I might be stepping on some people's toes, but that comes from a dysfunctional background. Somebody taught you that. Let me drink a bottle of wine. I had a bad day. Let me have a nightcap. I had a bad day. It's called self-medicating. And we're in a space now at this age where we have to let go of those old ideas of what I'm doing this because, and it's not harmful. It is harmful. It's harmful to your body. It's harmful to your decision making. Can I tell y'all another thing? Can I tell y'all another thing? Every bad decision I ever made in my life, I'm not even gonna say, I'm gonna say 98% of every bad decision that I made in my life, I was drunk. Alcohol impairs your decision making. But again, let's take it back to the life skills that were never developed in us. Decision making to not drink alcohol. You know how many times I should be dead from drinking and driving? And I'm not talking about drinking and driving and you're tipsy. I'm talking about drinking and driving and you're drunk, fall down, knocked down, can't see, staggering, pissy drunk, parking on a tree stump drunk. Because you don't have decision making skills, problem solving skills to say, guess what? This might not be a good idea. You operate on emotions and feelings. You operate on how you feel rather than facts that are in front of you. Oh, I feel good, so I'm going to drive drunk. When the fact is, you're not capable of driving a whatever pound machine that could kill another person. And you're not even thinking, not only could I harm myself, but I could kill another person. But in this stage in my life, now that some work has been done, I think about that when I get behind the wheel of a car and say, what would happen? How would I even function again in life if I killed somebody's loved one? I don't want that over my head. But way back then, when I didn't have decision making skills, basic life skills, from the dysfunctional background that I grew up in, thinking that dysfunction was normal. Oh no, that's just normal. Everybody does it. Just because everybody does it does not make it right. Just again, dysfunction is not normal. I'm giving another example because I know a lot of Black families go through this. Fighting at events, fighting at the cookout, fighting at the wedding. But that's not normal. Fighting over money at the funeral. We're still doing that. Fighting's not fighting in family functions at the end because everybody has consumed alcohol or we want to talk about stuff that we need to be talking about in therapy ain't normal. And most of us who have, listen to me, most of us who have decided to take the route of coaching, therapy, mentorship, to get better, to heal, are in therapy, coaching, and mentorship from somebody that refuses to go. Most of us are in therapy because of somebody that refuses to go. Can you just go to therapy so we can all be good? But we have to be conscious of who we let in our space. And this is the question that I ask my clients. I have a program called the Recovery Room, right? And this is what I ask my clients when they come into the recovery room to start the program. It's a 4-week program. This is the first question that I ask them. And I want you to ask yourself as you go along this journey with me through the recovery room. Who's outside of the recovery room? This is the most important question you're going to ask yourself as you go on this journey of healing with me. You are now in the recovery room. Somebody has to pick you up. Just imagine coming from a surgery in a hospital. This is heart surgery that we doing. And we are now in a recovery room and you are being watched to make sure that the anesthesia, you okay? To make sure the operation went well, to make sure there's no internal bleeding, to make sure who's outside of the recovery room is more important, is one of the most important questions that I need you to ask yourself. Is somebody outside of the recovery room to care for you? to take care of you, to mentally take it? Or is there somebody out there that's going to bust your stitches? I'll wait. And most of us go through coaching programs in the hospital. Let's talk about the physical hospital. Most of us go to the physical hospital to get a surgery, to get something done, to come out of the recovery room for somebody toxic to pick us up. And we wonder why the healing process is so slow. When you leave this mental recovery room, you're going to have to let some folks go. You can't go to the same environment that made you sick. You're going to have to let some people, places, and things go. You're going to have to let some vices go. You're going to have to stop binging on Netflix. You're going to have to stop drinking shots of Hennessy. You're going to have to stop hanging with old boy. You're going to have to stop sleeping with that woman husband. Because that's not normal. Dysfunction is not normal. And the only way to live the abundant life that God has promised is to be willing to let go of things that are dragging you down, from the dysfunction that you think is normal. And you have to be willing to make the choice to not want to be that person anymore. And it's hard. It's hard to leave folks behind. But I promise you, the people who are supposed to be in your life will catch up. But don't let them slow you down, baby. Don't let them hold you to the dysfunction that is no longer serving you. And that is your choice. We have freedom of choice, right? We have freedom. We have free will. And I really hope that this has been helpful to you to begin your journey of healing. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into the Recovery Room. I am Trey Kearney, certified life and relationship coach, better known as your healing agent. Again, I tell you, I cannot heal you. God can, but he sent me down to be your Neosporin. So if you are willing, ready and willing and able to heal, come back to the Recovery Room next week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll have another topic that we'll talk about that's going to be really, really deep. I won't tell you what it is. I will be promoting it after this. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, reactions, please feel free to DM me, inbox me. I'm at Trey Kearney on all social media platforms. I am at Trey Kearney at Trey Kearney 26 on TikTok. I am at Trey Kearney, www.treykearney.com. If you would like to do the life skills program, please reach out to me. The only way that you could be successful is to really master these basic life skills so that you are not taken on a dysfunctional ride for the rest of your life. And I'm so happy that God has opened my eyes to the fact that dysfunction is not normal. And I'm so happy that he has opened my eyes to the fact that I am not my biggest mistake. I am my better choices. And to let you know that you are not your biggest mistake, that you are your better choices. And if you don't like where you are in life, simply make better choices. And as my mama would say, it is never too late to make a U-turn. So I love y'all. This has been good to my soul. This has been good to my soul. So again, if you would like to advertise with us, you can send an email to info@treykearney.com, info@treykearney.com, and I will get back to you. And I just want to leave you with this final thought. Psalms 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. You can be healed. God can heal you. God is love. Love can heal you. But you have to make a conscious decision to let go of the blueprint, the bad parts of the blueprint. And I want you to hold on to the good parts of what you learned growing up. But you must understand at this point in your life, you are accountable for who you are and what you're doing. You are accountable for what is going on in your life right now. You need to look internally at the things that you need to change to rescue you from what is no longer serving you. Because people are going to come into your life who are not good for you. And if you are not healed, You are not attracting, and I want to say this to a lot of people. A lot of people say, why do I keep attracting bad energy? Why do I keep attracting bad men? Why do I keep attracting bad fam people? Why do I keep attracting bad women? You don't attract bad anything. When you are in a state of dysfunction, when you are in a state of trauma, when you are in a state of brokenness, you entertain those things too long because they fill a void in you. We entertain things too long that fills a void in us. And this is what we need to learn mentally, right? This is what we need to learn to grow and to heal. It's not the fact that we're attracting the wrong people, it's the fact that we're entertaining them because this person fills a void for a woman who has a daddy issue. So you come to this man and you know he's not a good fit for you. Or you say, I keep attracting these same men because you're filling a void of a father figure. So you keep holding on to men that make you feel like they're your father, right? I hope this makes sense to y'all, right? So the other person, you're looking for a mother for your children, right? Or you're looking for a mother for you because you never got mother. So you are with women who are older than you, who are nurturers, but everything else is out of whack with them. It's not that you keep attracting nurturers, you keep entertaining people who have a nurturing quality because you have a void for that. You looking for your mama. So you have to go and fix those things, right? You have to go and take care of you so that when you run into people, this is where I'm at in my life, and I'm so happy. And I'm not saying I'm not going to fall short of the mark, that somebody might come along and trick me, but I hope not, because there's no voids in me anymore. I've done the work. I'm not looking for a daddy. I'm not looking for my father anymore. For many years, I stuck around with men because I said some man gonna stick around in my life, and because I need to feel worthy that somebody gonna stick around for the long haul because my daddy did. So if he didn't think I was worthy of coming around or checking on me, somebody is going to. So I stayed in some relationships too long because of that. I'm not looking for a father for my son. Okay. My son is good. I'm not looking for somebody to take care of me financially because I'm taking care of myself. So there's not a whole bunch, there's no voids in me so that when people leave my life, they don't take a piece of me with them. Because I was whole when they walked into my life, baby. I was whole when they walked in, and I'm going to be whole when they walk out. And granted, I'm human. Will I be sad if I lose a relationship with a friend? Of course I will. Will I be sad if a relationship with a man ends? Of course I will if I love them, because I'm human. But I'm okay because I'm going to bounce back because resilience is a life skill that I have built up. And again, when I went through coaching, these are the things that I was like, oh my goodness, when I was going through my coaching, it's like, oh, you know why that's happening to you? Because you don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to speak up for yourself. You know why that's happening to you? Because every time something happens, you don't bounce right back. And resilience is like a muscle. As you build that muscle, you bounce back just a little bit faster. And I'll give this final example because I know I'm almost to my time. When my brother passed away, like that was the worst phone call, one of the worst phone calls I got in my whole entire life. And I was just like, okay, I'm devastated. But my resilience let me bounce back much faster than me being around here depressed for the rest of my life. Because one, I know he wouldn't want that for me. And two, I know more things are going to come in my life that are outside of my control. Right? I know. So I'm not in control of anything except me. And to some degree, I'm not even in control of that. God is. Like my body, illness, and things like that are going to happen to me. So I had to come to this point of acceptance in my life that I'm not in control of everything. So I had to build my resilience up so that when things did happen to me, it would knock the breath out of me, but I would get back up. But I would get back up a little bit faster each time. A little bit faster each time, right? So these are just things that I've grown and developed in my life because they're skills Once I got out of the mindset that dysfunction was normal, everybody in my family screams and hollers and everybody's house is loud. I don't choose that for me, and I don't knock anybody who chooses that for themselves. You understand what I'm saying? I'm doing better now because I really take time, because I know the skills to making a decision. Right? How many of us just simply don't have decision making skills? How many of us? You don't have to answer this question out loud, but ask yourself, how do I make decisions? Do I make decisions based on how I feel, or do I make decisions based on facts? Do I tell everybody yes because I want them in my life, or do I tell them, give me a minute to think about that and I'll get back to you on that? Do I operate in my feelings, or do I just do whatever it is that am I a people pleaser? Ooh, that might be a whole nother topic. A people pleaser. How many of us on here are people pleasers? So again, function, basic life skills are not taught in dysfunction. And function means to work. So what does dysfunction mean? Function means to work. So what does dysfunction mean? Dysfunction means something's not working. And we have to get on a track of functioning well so that we can have the best life ever. Right? So, oh, and then listen to this. Then I gotta go because I be doing my research. Dysfunction is behavior, a breakdown and cognitive and emotional behavior. Right? Dysfunctional behavior is a breakdown in cognitive, emotion, and or behavior. Right? Can I say that one more time so I can get that clear? Dysfunctional behavior is a breakdown in cognition, emotion, and or behavior. Dysfunctional behavior, a breakdown in cognition, emotion, or behavior, right? So I had to look up what cognition was, right? Because I tell y'all all the time, I don't even care. Some words I don't know. Like I'm good on that, but I'll go look them up, right? So listen to what cognition is the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. It encompasses all aspects of intellectual function and processes such as perception, attention, thought, imagination, intelligence, the formation of knowledge, memory, and working memory, judgment, evaluation, reasoning, and problem solving and decision making, comprehension and production of language. So again, let's go back to dysfunctional behavior. A breakdown in cognition, emotion, and or behavior. Well, there you have it. That's why some of us are suffering and we can't get to the level of success that we would like to get to. Dysfunctional behavior, a breakdown in cognition, emotion, and or behavior. If you don't know what you don't know how to heal. If you don't know what you don't know how or what to heal. If you think dysfunction is normal, you don't fix anything until you get into a relationship, or you get into a job, or you get a friend, or you get around some people that are not dysfunctional. You won't know. I wonder why I couldn't remember. Listen to me. I'm going to look at some of the comments because y'all asked me to do this live because I was going to record the Recovery Room podcast, but my people said, "Can you do it live?" So I want to look at some of the comments to end this, and I just want to read some of them so other people can understand that you are not alone. I just really want to say that You are not alone. So many times when I get around people who have grown up in dysfunction and we start to just talk and share our stories, there's so many me too moments. Like, me too. And I was never ever able to heal from that because it was embarrassment and shame. And I was hiding it from the world when I'm simply not the only one that grew up in dysfunction. All of us have suffered some level of dysfunction, and somebody has to tell us that dysfunction is not normal so we can begin to heal that part of us again so we can live the best life, the abundant life that God has promised us. So let me see. I'm honored to hear you, to see you speak. Thank you so much. I wonder why I couldn't remember. Yes, right. Most people just don't think. I know how to say no. Hi, I need prayers, love, husband, and got a major surgery. He's in so much pain. I used to be. Yes, please speak on that. That's me. Wish I didn't at times, but I know I'm stuck. You got to get help. You just got to get the help that you need. Please get help. Yes, takes work, but that's the goal. Yes. Do you have time to speak at the White House come January 1st? If somebody invited me, I sure do. Yes, I love this. I need professional healing. I would like to be better and much more basic than I am. Please reach out. They will catch up or get left behind, and that's facts. He keeps coming back and so hard to ignore and keep moving. Y'all got to get the help. Listen, you got to get the help that you need on this journey. I told y'all the reason why I'm sitting here right now is my coach. I didn't do this by myself. I didn't know what was wrong with me. The first thing my coach said to me was, you need to locate yourself because I was out here, I promise you, suspended in midair. I didn't know who I was, what I was doing. All I knew was something has to give. And I need help with whatever it is because I don't know, because I thought dysfunction was normal. I thought I was operating in the proper frequency of life when I wasn't, because I was operating based on what I learned from a dysfunctional background. So I love y'all and I gotta go. You can find me again at www.treykearney.com. I'm a certified life and relationship coach. I can get you from where you are to where you're trying to go. If we do sit down and we have a 15-minute consultation, and I believe that your wounds are deeper than my pay grade, I will refer you to a couple of therapists that I work with that will help you get healed, that will help you deal with the trauma, the childhood trauma. I don't deal with that. So I work with a couple different therapists and we work together as a team. While you're working on those childhood wounds or those adult wounds or those church hurts or those things that are those deep traumas that have hurt you with the therapist, I'm working with you in your here and now to keep you moving along the journey while you're dealing with the deep seated roots that need to be uprooted. So again, we're not here to just listen. We are here to grow, to learn, to elevate, and to heal together. We are here so that when you leave the recovery room, you go into the right arms, you go into the right environments, and you go around the right people, places, and things. So again, when I was going through my trauma and my drama, there was a scripture that I always meditated on. I meditated on the word, and that scripture was Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. And I will end this by saying, I love you, but more than anything, God loves you, and He has not forgotten about you. Peace and blessings. Please subscribe to the New You Nation Network YouTube channel. You'll find the replay of that there. The replay of this there on the New You Nation Network YouTube channel. And I will see you soon. Peace and blessings. Remember what I tell you at the end of all my broadcasts. You deserve the best. Yes, I'm talking to you. You deserve the best. Now go get it. Peace and blessings. Mwah.